Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not be those of the host or the station. Folks, you don't want to listen to this podcast. I have with me one of my favorite people, Roberta Clark, who is a past caregiver to her mom. Roberta was on in June 14th, where she talked about the caregiving challenges. And Roberta is back today to talk about grieving during the holidays. Now, you don't have to be a past caregiver to be grieving during the holidays. You could be a present caregiver because they're not the same. You could have had a loss of a job or maybe a pet, not necessarily a caregiver. I do want to say this before I forget. Anyone listening to my podcast, if you are having trouble with grieving, depression, please, I beg you, seek medical professional help. Talk to your healthcare provider. Tell them you need help, and they can guide you to resources in your area. There's no shame at all to say, I need help. It's not weakness, folks. It's a sign of strength. And it's okay if you are depressed and you need to take antidepressants. It's okay. Seek professional help. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Roberta Clark, for coming back to Chatting with Betsy. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm doing better than I expected, but you know the holidays are bittersweet. I know that You're going through that yourself. Different things that will come up, like I heard my mother's favorite Christmas song this last week, and I had to turn it. I was going to cry. And I was driving home in the dark, and not a good scenario, especially since my vision has changed, and my eye doctor currently has my frames because they're going to put new lenses in there. So I'm driving without glasses. Don't anybody tell. And I'm supposed to be wearing glasses, but actually the reason why I couldn't wear my bifocal lenses is because my vision actually improved a bit. Can you figure that out?
Wow. Well, that's good.
I don't know what it is. I was happy to hear it. The caregiving aspect, I let a lot of things go, which a lot of caregivers do. And I hate to preach to the choir, but I just cannot say this enough. It is so very vital to fight to do whatever you can to take care of yourself the best way that you can, no matter what that is or what that looks like. So you're not in a boat where you're having major health problems after the fact. I mean, I'm going through that now. I have a diabetes diagnosis, and, it's a whole, as they would say, new normal for me. I'm fortunate. My father was a diabetic, so I know how to handle things. But nonetheless, this was unexpected, and so quickly after my mom passed.
And I think, Roberta, that's not uncommon because caregivers, we do put our health on the back burner. I was guilty of it. I did the same thing. Thankfully, I'm okay. Yeah. But we do that because sometimes we just don't have anyone to watch our loved one.
Exactly.
And we don't have any help, or we can't afford to go for treatment.
Right. Right.
So
I had all
yeah, I understand that. When you had the health insurance that I do, I can't afford it. So I understand that. And Roberta, we're the same on the same page, that self-care is a matter of life and death. And if you want to enjoy life after caregiving, you have to take care of yourself the best that you can. The best that you can.
Yes, exactly. My best advice is to, if I had anything to do differently, a lot of us wait until the downtime to get things accomplished, or to just, I guess I want to say, be in relaxation mode and just kind of like zone out, so to speak. I wish I would have spent more time resting and sleeping when she slept, because there's such chronic sleep deprivation, and I've got to say it doesn't get any better after they're gone and you're grieving. I believe it takes quite some time to adjust. I've heard different I'll just say time estimates, but I don't like to say anything cut and dried because everybody is different. Some people may be doing okay in about a year. Some people might take 2 years or longer. It just all depends on what your experience was and how difficult it was during the caregiving journey.
Yes. And this is what I call the aftermath of caregiving, which is a whole nother journey than caregiving. We, as past caregivers, go through a whole different journey afterwards. Some have more problems than others. I know my body can't seem to get off of this high alert that I have been on for 10 years. And, it's weird because Matt will be gone 2 years next month, and I'm still in it. Yeah. I don't know how to calm myself down. I'm going for grief counseling. I deep breathe. And I just sometimes, find myself in that hyper mode of adrenaline rush. I think my body's addicted to it at this point.
No, I get that. I think it takes a long time for bodies to relearn behaviors.
Yes.
What I find helps me is a lot of calm relaxation music. Now, everybody's different, but I find if I can keep things as calm and peaceful and tranquil in my home environment as possible, I feel a lot better.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Calmness, yes.
Yes, and I always was one of these people that I craved peace. My mother was bipolar, refused to acknowledge it or take medication, and she was a malignant narcissist, and both my parents were narcissists, and my father came from a broken home and had a terrible childhood. He was abused, and they made a life together, and there was constant conflict between them and their families, and we looked like the Norman Rockwell family on the outside. Go to church, and everybody thinks we're this perfect little family unit. but it was far from that. And I lived under that for most of my life. I think it was worse even when I became an adult than when I was growing up as a child. And that's really hard to reconcile, but I try each day to move forward and tell myself that was my life. It's no longer my story. I'm rewriting my story. I'm creating a different life, a better life. But that hard life made me what I am today, too. So, I mean, you can look at it from many different sides. I'm happy to be in the place that I am right now, in the perspective that I'm continuing to learn and grow. Yes, I'm not happy with grieving. Nobody's happy with grieving. It's a terribly messy process. You may be fine for days, and then out of the blue, bam, something happens. I had a situation just a few days ago where I was fine all day. And then I got in the car to go home, and for some reason, I just was terribly depressed. It just was like flipping on a light switch. I can't tell you why. These moments
and then
come and go.
That happens. Yes, I've had that myself, Roberta. I can understand that.
Yeah, and there you are. You're like, it's like being on a beach and the tide rolling in and out. You know, and sometimes it's low tide, and then sometimes it's high tide, and you've got to hightail it, so to speak. And and there's no warning of when these things happen, and you never know what's going to trigger it. And sometimes you don't even have the same triggers. That's the kicker of it all. It's like I said, grieving is very messy and complicated, and especially if you've had a very conflicted relationship with the person that you've been caregiver to. Yes.
That's funny that you said, in a way that you said it's a messy process, because I did a show, over a year ago with Lillian Caldwell, the CEO, it's on YouTube, and I said, grieving is a messy process. It's not neat and tidy.
No.
It's messy. And, sometimes people, want to fix us. They can't fix us. We have to fix ourselves. No. And it's great to validate. At least you're validating the feelings. Because when people stifle it and say, I have no right to feel this way, I got to stifle it, that's when it becomes worse.
Right.
For me, anyway.
No, you're right. You have to allow it to flow. You have to allow the feelings and the emotions to process themselves, I'm going to say, through and out of your body. And you've just got to come to a place of acceptance that life is not perfect. Tomorrow is not promised. We have to live for today. Our pasts have made us what we are, and we just have to do the very best that we can to be gentle with ourselves during the grieving process and not to beat ourselves up over all kinds of past things, over the fact that you're still grieving or you feel like you're a mess. No, you can't do that. You can't live under guilt and condemnation. You have got to be very, very gentle with yourself. I call it extreme self-care. And that doesn't mean all bubble baths and, all that kind of jazz.
Right.
I'm talking more on a mental plane. Do the physical things. Like what's been very important for me, might be a small thing to some people. For me, it was huge because I had issues for years. Twice a month, I get a manicure, and I get a nice one. I get my fingernails dipped. And once a month, I have a pedicure. I wasn't able to take care of my hands and my feet, even before I ever became a caregiver, because I was pretty much like an indentured servant to my mother. And there just wasn't time and sometimes not resources. And I wasn't the important one. She was. Everything revolved around her. So now it's time for me to take care of me, do things that make me feel good, that make me feel, I don't know what I want to say, worthy.
That you want to feel, you want to take care of yourself. You want to feel good about yourself.
Right, correct. And this is what makes me feel good. I mean, I have a dear friend that she kind of understands, she kind of gets it because she was a caregiver as well. But then she'll make different comments, and I'll say to myself, well, she's in a different spot. She had a different situation, and she doesn't totally get why I'm extravagant with myself, why I do this. It's important to me going forward. And you're going to find that there are people who aren't going to understand why you're doing different things in the extreme self-care mode. I haven't been on social media for a while, very sporadic. I've had a conflict with that all year. It's been hard since I've been working. I work 2 jobs. I work 7 days a week. And I don't have the time that I would like to spend because I'm usually so fatigued. I come home, I eat dinner, and I go to bed. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot of time for social, and I feel bad because I connected with a lot of people. I miss that interaction, and I wish that it could be more, but I don't have it to give right now.
I understand that, when the well is dry, the well is dry.
Yes.
I know that, I have my group, hashtag Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. I'm in a lot of different groups. I can't give to them. Like my group is my priority. My podcast is my priority. And I can't spread myself too thin anymore, Roberta. I'm fried.
No.
I'm still fried. And it takes a while. And, talking about, yes, I've had grief hit me this past week. I thought I was doing great. And then boom. And this time of year especially, even I've heard people say, even though they have lost loved ones like years ago, holiday time brings back family memories and might bring back good memories, sad memories, and this is what is coming home to roost.
Yes. That is absolutely correct, and it's very difficult when you've got people celebrating around and you had times in your life where celebrating wasn't possible or it wasn't easy or you didn't have the perfect family life. And so it was conflicted. And let's face it, not everybody enjoys the holidays. I did when I was a child and for a while when I was an adult, but now it's just, it's hard. You see people and they're all in the festivities and whatnot, and it's difficult.
It is difficult. Last year was my first Christmas without Matt, and you were saying about, a Christmas song. I couldn't tolerate hearing Christmas music last year.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. This year, I am playing Christmas music. I like the older ones. But I'm tolerating it this year, but yet it makes me sad because some of the music is what Matt gave me, back in when there was records. And, or we dance to it, and it makes me sad, and it makes me, miss him even more. And, that's okay. It's okay, folks, to know your triggers and to avoid it. Like, you don't have to listen to Christmas music if it's going to set a trigger. You don't have to do that. Don't torture yourself.
Exactly.
You know, I think, Roberta, I'm talking to different people and reading different articles. People think, oh, they got to carry on, so listen to, you know, music or do, you know, festivities. You know what? As you said, we have to show ourselves grace and compassion. And if we're not up to going to a party, then you don't go.
Right.
You can give the information to people. If you feel the need to explain, they probably won't understand. But it's not their job to understand, as long as you know. It doesn't matter what other people think. You got to do what's best for you.
No, you're correct about that. You're absolutely correct. I spent most of this year, I'll say, extricating myself from different things. I've shut down and archived my groups. I'm thinking about archiving my Positive Mojo page because I just don't have the capacity to do that right now. Not to say that I won't do it in the future, but I don't have it to give right now. I really don't. It's very difficult. I'm just trying to do the best I can to take care of myself. I'm controlling my diabetes with diet, and as long as I do this, they're not going to put me on medication. So that takes a certain amount because I'm cooking where I wasn't cooking before. And, you know, I come home from work, cook dinner, and I'm wiped. You know, there's just not a lot of time for social interaction, and I feel so bad because I became close to certain people, and they were all wonderful and reached out to me. Last holiday time, I was out of work. They suspended unemployment for a while. We were in a bad spot, and I had so many people that reached out and helped us during a very, very bad time. And I'm going to put a post up to thank people again for what they did for us last year. I
remember that.
A lot to us, yes. And it meant a lot to my mom, even though she was not always lucid. There was a certain part of her that knew that there were people out there that cared, that I had friends. And I feel bad that I don't have more time to spend to communicate with people the way I used to. I was getting into audio and video projects, but that was all during the pandemic. I was home 24/7. It's just not that way anymore, and I'm grieving that too.
Yes, there's, you know, I get it. I was totally afraid. I mean, which is why, I mean, I'm not ready to date anyway, but I feel that I can't even have a relationship with someone because I have nothing left to give. There's nothing, I just don't have it. I may never have it, I don't know, but I'm not interested in being with someone else at this time. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, folks. If you lost your mate, your partner, you want to date again, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. It's just not right for me. So everyone does what's right for them.
Amen.
But I just, I wouldn't feel comfortable. That's me. But I don't judge anyone. You have a right to enjoy life after caregiving. And if that means finding a partner or a spouse, then, you know, that's fine. But I have Josh, too, to consider. So I don't, I just don't even desire it. I feel like, you know, I am very passionate in what I do, and I, you know, care about people in my group, and I care about this podcast very much. I'm very passionate about both of them, and that's what I have energy for, and for my son. That's it.
I get it.
You know,
and I think you need your priorities straight. That's what I'm trying to work on, what I've been working on since Mom passed, is finding my new normal and reprioritizing different things in my life and stepping away from things that, I don't know how I want to put this. I don't want to say that are no longer useful or valuable, but things that maybe perhaps are not serving me well right now, I guess is the best way that I can put it.
Yes, and Roberta, and I've heard this because I attend, I listen to the speaker every week. As we grow as people, and caregiving does change you, going through grieving changes you, there are things or sometimes people that no longer serve us, that's no longer beneficial to us. Maybe it's someone who's toxic. Maybe it's someone who's negative. And it brings you down. Then it's no longer helping you. Sometimes we outgrow things. And sometimes we outgrow people. Not that we don't like them anymore. It's just that priorities change and things change. Doesn't mean you can't be friends with them, but you just change. I get what you're saying 100%. And, we should surround ourselves by positive people. Absolutely.
Yes, that is correct. I'm just doing what I can each day to try to find a new normal, to try to find a better balance in my life. Right now, I guess my priority is just pulling myself back together. I'm working on keeping my sugar levels down, eating healthier. Starting in the spring, I'm going to plan to bike ride around my neighborhood. And this is also a year of a weight loss journey for me, a major weight loss journey. My goal is to lose 100 pounds by this time next year.
Wow. Well, that's a good goal to have, and then your diabetes might improve. I'm sure.
Correct. Yes, that is the goal, and I have already lost a little portion of weight since I changed my eating and drinking habits. And I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel healthier.
That's that's good. We have to do what is best for us. And I just did an interview with a wonderful person. She has a book. Jill Johnson Young has a book, The Rebellious Widow. You don't have to be a widow to read it. But it's about, we don't have to follow the so-called rules of grieving. Right. We have to do what's best for us. And that's different for each individual. And, some people want to talk about their loved ones. Some people don't. Some people grieve openly and some privately. Yeah. And nobody has a right to judge or how someone's grieving. People judge, they're smiling. Why are they happy? Or why are they sad? Or when are you going to get over it? Or, when are you going to stop talking, about somebody? I don't, me too. Or this is when I really just like, be strong. Really, people? Be strong.
Very strong.
Yeah, I did not like that at all. And it varies for everyone. People, well, I should say myself. I love when people talk about Matt. I would love for people to tell me a story about Matt. I'd love to hear when I post a video, I miss Matt. Matt was funny. I liked watching Matt. That makes me happy. Yeah, I might cry when I see a video of Matt, and I might cry when I talk about Matt. But it's because I'm an emotional person. But I I will never stop talking about Matt. The day I start talking about Matt, I'm either going to have dementia myself, or I can't talk anymore, or I'm dead.
Right.
Somebody, told me 2 weeks after Matt died that Matt's dead now. He's gone. Like I need a reminder, and I should work on finding a cure and stop talking about Matt and my awareness. And I said that's never going to happen.
Oh, no, that's not right.
That's never going to happen. That is the reason why I went in my car. The reason for chatting with Betsy and everything I do. And how dare anyone tell someone to start talking about their loved one? That's so disrespectful.
Yes, I've actually had that happen. And somebody who had been a caregiver, somebody who was close to me, somebody who still is close to me, and that was so hurtful. It was basically, when are you going to stop talking about her? Or then another time it was, well, you'll stop talking about her soon. And I'm thinking, don't give me limits about, how long it's going to be before I stop talking about her. She was a major player in my life.
That's right. No one has a right. I'm sorry someone said that to you. No one has a right to tell anybody that.
Exactly.
Whether it's a parent, a child, or, a spouse, a partner, everyone grieves differently. And, people have a right to talk about their loved one who, that's a way to honor their memory. And during holiday times, we can remember our loved ones. We can make their favorite dishes if we want to. We could do new traditions. We could do something to honor them. Maybe, with COVID, it's kind of hard, but if you wanted to volunteer somewhere, they allow that. If you wanted to cook someone a dinner and do that, there's so many ways you can honor a loved one at this time of year, and really any time of year. Doesn't have to be this time of year.
That's correct.
I also want to suggest to the audience, I go for grief counseling. I'm not ashamed to say it. I highly recommend it. I also attend a virtual bereavement group that I found, and it helps. And it's okay, to say I need to go for counseling. It's not. I can't emphasize this enough to listeners. It is not a sign of weakness to need counseling, to need antidepressant, to be to go to a group. You know what? There comes a time in our lives where we might need help. Don't judge people. Don't ever judge anyone because they go for help or take a medication to help them. You don't know what life has for you, and you don't know what life is going to throw at you and how you're going to handle it. So I like for people to just think before they speak.
Absolutely.
That's what we used to tell the kids. That's what we used to tell the kids in school. Think before you speak. And I think adults need to learn that.
Oh, absolutely. I think some people have never learned that, and I'm just appalled at the way a lot of people handle grief. They want to sweep it under the carpet. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They want to pretend that it doesn't exist. I read a good book a few years ago, and I can't remember the title of it, or the author, but she was a widow, and she basically chronicled her whole grief journey after her husband passed, and these same things. And this was a true story. chronicle the same things that we're going through now. You know, people thinking, oh, you need to move past this, and, you know, life is not going to be the same, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all the things that we already know. We don't need people to tell us.
Right. And, you know, like, we're not asking anyone to fix this. You can't fix it.
No.
And I think, Roberta, that people tend to want to make someone feel better, and they don't know what to say, or they don't say anything. Or they don't want to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And, you know, people some people say, I mean, it's good to be, you know, busy and active, but not if you're running away from your grief. I'm going to tell you, folks, I'm not a therapist, okay? I'm not a therapist. But I can tell you from my own experience, if you run away from your grief and you stifle it, how you feel, it's going to bite you right in your butt. It's going to come back to bite you. And you don't want that. We need to sit sometimes with our pain. The only way to get through pain is you have to sit with it and go through it. Sometimes we have to eat pain sandwiches.
Right. You can't ignore it. I had a time period this year that I tried to do some of that. I had over-involved myself in a few things because I was in panic mode because I didn't have a social life. I was trying to find my new normal. I needed people around me. And then I was doing too much. I went from one extreme to the other, and I was burning out quickly. So I had to pull back from nearly all of that and put the brakes on and say, what are you doing? You know, and I had to get a grip, and I said, okay, let's start over again here. Let's be gentle with ourselves, and let's just take it one day at a time and not worry about stuff. Just do what you need to do to get through.
Yes. I love talking to you, Roberta. What suggestions do you have for the audience that have helped you with grieving that you would like to share?
Well, again, don't stifle your feelings. I would say allow yourself a lot of time, a lot of space. Don't beat yourself up if you can't interact with people like you normally do. This is, as far as I'm concerned, part of the grieving process. You just have to let things flow naturally and let them be. Be gentle with yourself. Make taking care of yourself a real priority, and I really believe that things start to fall in place. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have highs and lows, but like you said, you got to eat that pain sandwich, and you've got to move through it.
Yes, I agree. And again, I want to tell the listeners, talk to your healthcare provider if you feel that you need a group. I know where I live in New Jersey. In my township, I get free counseling through my senior center because I can't afford it with my insurance, I'll be honest with you. I can't afford $90 a week. I just can't. So check your senior center. Some facilities charge by a sliding scale, which means they charge by your income. But seek your primary doctor and ask them about professional help, who they recommend, and, check with your insurance, because I know, people have to do that. But there are resources, folks, and there are people to help you. You just have to admit that you need help, and it's okay. It's I definitely needed grief counseling, and I still get it. And it'll be 2 years next month. I can't believe it. So, you know what? yeah, I think I will. I know part of me will grieve Matt for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy life. I do enjoy life.
Right.
I enjoy now more than ever. But I will always have a sadness to me because my partner, my spouse, my soulmate is not here with me. And I do miss Matt every day. But you know what? Matt lives on. We get emotional. But he lives on. And chatting with Betsy is part of that.
Yes.
It's definitely part of that. And, you know, sometimes it's hard. Like, look, I'm getting emotional now. I'm not ashamed of it. I used to be ashamed of being emotional. I'm not anymore. It's who I am. That's who I am.
Absolutely.
You know. But thank you, Roberta Clark, for coming on and sharing. It's tough, folks. It is. It's tough for some people. I can't even say it gets easier. Some people find that it doesn't get easier. Some people find it gets harder.
Yes.
So, however you feel, there's no right or wrong way to grieve or to feel.
Correct.
You know, I can't emphasize enough, if you are depressed, if you're thinking of depressed enough to take your life, please seek medical attention immediately, professional help. Because there are people to help you. And I can't really emphasize that enough. No matter where you live in the world, there's people to help you. I'm not familiar with resources, you know, outside of the U.S. or what happens in other countries, but here in the U.S. there is help. There's a waiting list now, but there is help because there's such a mental health crisis with the pandemic because of everything going on. And, you know, I'm also grieving my brother. My brother died in January. This year, and that really threw me for a loop. So, you know, it happens, folks. Death is a part of life. We need to talk about it. Do I talk about grieving because I'm a morbid, sad person? No. I talk about it because we need to talk about it. And on Chatting with Betsy, I will pop open the lid on what people think are taboo. And, you know, people think it's taboo to talk about death and dying. It's not. We need to have these conversations because, you know what? If no one talks about grieving, then how are we going to learn how to grieve? We're not. Absolutely. We don't know how to grieve because no one wants to talk about it because everyone's afraid about being judged. Well, you know what, folks? I'm a Jersey girl. I don't care about being judged. People want to judge me, they could go right ahead. I'm going to talk openly about my grieving. That's it. That's who I am.
Absolutely.
You know, that's just me. What you hear, that's me. This is 100%. This is me. And I've been the same, you know, through my life. I'm just now more vocal about it because I'm more confident in myself to be vocal. And I want people to know that, you know what, people do grieve and that people do hurt and people have pain in their life. This is mental health issues. I'm also a mental health advocate. And you know what? We're all going to have pain in our life sometime. We're all going to grieve because someone in our life is going to die. And you're going to want to know, you know, resources. You're going to want to know about help. I did a lot of shows about this. That's why you need to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. I have a lot of good people on here, terrific people with wonderful resources. And I have done shows in the past about grieving. So check out those episodes because they're excellent people. And I want to thank you again, Roberta. And I want to thank you're welcome. My pleasure. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank Jeannie White, who is the station manager, who produces the show and writes the blog. I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO, Passionate World Talk Radio Network makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening. Please share this podcast to help other people. This is what Chatting with Betsy is about helping people, paying it forward. And I want to wish everyone, although this won't be posted until sometime in January, so I will just say, if you can't have a happy new year for whatever reason, then I hope it's a peaceful and a blessed one. I hope you find peace in your life and joy in your life. And that's what I wish for you all. And in a world where you could be anything, be kind. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Chat with you later. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for an internet talk radio station for your podcast? Look no further. At the helm of Passionate World Talk Radio are two women that want to provide a spot for you and your podcast to be heard. There are many other places for your podcast, but PWTR has the audience. You will not be disappointed. Our station has been on the internet for the past 16 years. Call us for more information. 484-364-1032 or text Jeannie White, station manager at PHECONNECTSHOW@gmail.com for podcast show details. Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.